it can seem overwhelming sometimes when you talk about the Trinity. It can seem like this big gobbledygook is the technical term, this gobbledygook of ideas. But the fact is, it's actually able to be explained in a way that really makes a lot of sense, although I would contend it doesn't sit within the framework of our reason exclusively. It would even go beyond. It would not be irrational, but supra-rational, we could say. That being as it is, uh, Christians also teach that the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are all of one essence, one substance. You might hear the words, if you study theology, you'd hear terms like ousia, the essence, the being, substance, substantia. And yet these three persons, though they share that divine essence, that divine ousia, that divine substance, they are distinct, three distinct persons in subsistence, we could say. The technical term that the fathers used in the Greek language, at least, is hypostasis, hypostatic. We get the word hypostatic from that term. And so the idea that God is one in essence, but three in person, goes against a Christian heresy called modalism. I guess I don't like to say it's a Christian heresy. It's a heresy of Christianity, taken from Christianity. Modalism was propounded by some of the notable figures early on that were proponents of modalism were Noetus, Praxeas, and maybe the most well-known, Sabellius. And the term modalism was actually coined much later to describe this heresy, but it was coined by a German theologian named Adolf von Harnack. But at any rate, Tertullian addressed this idea of modalism. What is modalism? Basically, modalism is the idea that God is one in essence, but he's also one in person. And that when the Bible talks about Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, it's really talking about God manifesting himself in distinct ways, interacting with people in different ways. Essentially, he's on the stage and he's changing masks, changing costumes. One moment he's the Father, then he switches masks and he's the Son, and he switches again and he's the Holy Spirit. Well, that is modalism. That is a Christian heresy against Christian orthodoxy. And Tertullian, way back about 300 AD, addressed Praxeas in a document fitly titled Against Praxeas. And he says the following. He describes Praxeas' heresy in the following terms, that Praxeas asserted, quote, that the Father himself came down into the Virgin Mary, was himself born of her, himself suffered, and indeed was himself Jesus Christ. And so it's this idea that God is one in essence and one in person, which is a doctrine, a heresy that Orthodox Christians would reject. Hey, I wanted to invite you to a course that I've developed for you. I think you'll find it very interesting. It's called The History of Evangelism, and we're going to be looking at the story of evangelism right from the beginning of the Christian era all the way up to modern times. We're going to be talking about the apologists. We're going to be talking about some lesser-known figures like St. Gregory Thaumaturgus or Nina of Georgia. We're going to be talking about better-known figures like the Wesleys, Billy Graham. We've got Orthodox figures, Roman Catholic, Protestant. So whatever your background, I think you're going to find it very interesting. There's going to be class discussions. It's going to be offered through Zoom, but I think that we'll connect very well. And so I wanted to encourage you, get on our website, check out the course. It's just $100, and the registration is open until April 20th. So get in there. Course is going to be offered from May 9th through June 27th. We'll do live classes on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Central Time, but I think it'll be a good schedule for people from around the world to get in on this class, The History of Evangelism. I hope to see you there.